Yeah, I'm going to go over something because actually the alternative media is like kind of a mixed bag. It depends on who it is. There's people who actually know what's going on and they're playing a game, and there's other people, I don't know, they don't know what the hell's going on. They don't. Well, nobody knows everything. We know that. But there's a lot more intelligent. There's people that are very intelligent that are basically looking at one set of problems and ignoring other set of problems on the other side of the world as far as corruption goes. In other words, they're only focusing on corruption in the United States. Period. So I have to say this: beware of what's going to come up. Basically, you heard that old Who song, "Meet the old boss, same as the new boss, same as the old boss." Well, meet the new boss, worse than the old boss. And this is something actually I've read. I've been reading a long time about a lot of these things that are conspiracy theories, and a lot of them are legit. And there's truth, and it's not like they own the whole damn world either. There's because there's a lot of things going on at one time. But one thing I always looked at with Major Anatoliy Golitsyn, he says that the Russians, or the Soviets at the time, are counting on financial collapse in the West because it's basically something where they're going to introduce communism with a human face. If you look back historically, actually communism actually has been pushed by certain Western elite. Even though it's been a shrewd policy because it's the fastest way to put everything under one hat globally, where just a few people are going to control everything. The Western elite and the communist elite aren't really at odds with each other too much. It depends, though, because there's a human element. You never know. Now, I'm going to say this with Vladimir Putin. The guy's not stupid, I know that. And he is a Russian patriot. He's patriotic with his own country. Yes, that's a fact. But is he a wealthy oligarch in its own right? Yes, he is. I'm going to say that. Even though it's like, where's the proof? Oh, come on. There's a lot of circumstantial proof, let me put it this way. But anybody in the know sees the obvious answer. But, it doesn't come to light because anybody who tries to investigate that is dead. But, when you have these big, in other words, there's people in the alternative media, maybe smaller people, say, Vladimir Putin, this man is the truth. And, because, he goes to a church and he rides a horse and he shoots tigers with tranquilizer darts and saves them, or whatever the hell he does, man. It's all publicity stunts. It's a bunch of garbage, man. He walks, he's in with his pajamas, does the judo thing, whatever the hell it is. It's all publicity. And probably the Russians are getting sick of it, too. The Westerners, I don't know. It's a mixed bag. But when you're talking like the alternative media, like the more intelligent people, and I guess I have to name names, like Alex Jones is an intelligent person. He's not stupid, he's an aggressive media guy, man, for sure. But, it's all like all the West. It's all Obama administration. Oh, it's all the FEMA camps. It's all the CIA. It's the NSA. And you don't really hear crap too much about, how corrupt it is on the other side of the world. And, one thing I just mentioned recently, because, to me, I've changed my opinion on Gerald Celente. My personal opinion, I've changed on Gerald Celente, because for him to go on Russia Today, it's like anybody I see on Russia Today a lot as the alternative media criticizing the West, and they're the voice of truth. You're not going to see Russia Today. In other words, if you're a voice of the truth, you should be trying to expose corruption going on in the Russian government. And Vladimir Putin is a big part of that garbage, man. He's got his own game. He's a Russian patriot, but he's got his own game. He's a wealthy man. That's what it's like, try to prove it, right? Forget about it. You'd be dead meat if you try to prove it. But there's some other stuff I could say. I don't want to say everything, but there's some other stuff that's pretty obvious that makes it where, well, let me put it this way. People like Gerald Celente and Alex Jones and, any of the top names in the alternative media, they know what he's about, but it's almost like kid gloves when they're talking about the Russian oligarchs or what's going on inside the Russian system. It's worse. There's like less balances, there's less checks and controls, and the FSB is like a whole pile of our agencies in the United States, like having a drug enforcement agency, the FBI, the CIA, immigration, and other agencies in the NSA all put together under one hat. I mean, it's even more stringent than that. And I put out that video about common law. The UK actually has common law. I think it's a little less than what we have in the United States, but they don't have common law in Russia. They don't have the rights. I mean, it doesn't work perfectly in the United States. Yes, I know, but it's a worse system in Russia. They got civil law. I mean, you can go up in front of a kangaroo court, and if you accuse the government and the police of doing something, you're going to be screwed over there, man. That's all there is to it. That's why the truth doesn't come out. And where's like, I'll have to mention Gerald Celente. Where's he criticizing that? For him, when he went on that show, Russia Today, and he's constantly bashing everything going on in the West, I can tell you there's a lot more stuff going on in Russia that is, the wealth disparity is beyond belief. Beyond belief. It's not even the, it's not the 1%, it's not the 1 basis point, it's the 1/100th of 1,000th of 1%. It's 100,000th of 1%. It's that skewed. It's ridiculous. There's people that got tons of like highly specialized isotopes stored up in warehouses. They own vast tracts of freaking forest land with billions and billions of dollars worth of freaking raw material and timber on them. There's not that many families that own Russia. The whole state is the organized crime unit in itself. And, Russia Today is not going to bring that out. You're going to say it's only Western propaganda. But anybody that's a real truther is going to bring that out too. Like, if they're going to criticize the West, they're definitely going to criticize what's going on in Russia, because it's even worse. You see, what I think is what's going on is they're actually trying to make people say, well, we'll fix the situation. They want people to bite for change. And that buzzword, I mentioned this before, that buzzword change is like, you better watch with that word. Anytime anybody use that word, I mean, I know Obama used it, Clinton used it. I mean, there's organizations that say we are change and change this and change that. And it's not so much that we don't need our system is not screwed up. I have to say it again, it's more like there's way too many lethargic people out there, and they only start looking around for what's wrong is when the economy goes bad. So these people basically are being told all this stuff by the alternative media, and it's like, once the economy goes bad, they start looking for solutions, and they start turning on the alternative media. The solutions actually are real action by using the system itself. You can root out the corruption, you can root out the injustices, you can throw out everybody that's in power very easily. You could stop everything. The people have the power. But then they get focused in behind a lot of these alternative peoples, all these big names, and like I highly suspect they're false opposition. They're led by the people that are going to push for a more totalitarian system. So basically it's meet the new boss worse than the old boss, and it's like the people in the alternative media that are like very been around, they have a lot of popularity, they have a lot of views and stuff, and they do a lot of research. They're very well aware of what's going on inside. Not every single detail, but they're very well aware of the extreme corruption that's going on in Russia. And you see all these people go on Russia Today and talk about the United States is so bad. If you're going to freaking use an avenue where it's like you're going to talk about it, I just wouldn't use those guys, because the thing is, I wouldn't just talk about what's wrong in the United States. I talk about plenty. If I was on, if somebody said to me, hey, S7, whatever my name, I'll put my name out here like S7, but you're going to go on Russia Today and talk about, problems in the economy. Oh, I bring up crap about Russia. I bring up stuff on them. They wouldn't have me on there, man. You know that, because that's a Russian state-owned government. With anything disparaging against Putin, it's not going to be said. And the truth is, There's loads of stuff going on in Russia that's bad. You know, it's like, the knee-jerk reaction is Putin's against the Rothschilds. Well, say that's true. I don't really think he is. Actually, all these Russian oligarchs don't trust their own banking system, and they bank in the West, and they're all tied in with the Russian, and with all this the Western elite and stuff. But in the case of Putin, the only place where you could say he's a bit different, he's a patriot. He is a true Russian patriot. He is a true Russian patriot, and I think that's what people are picking up on and confusing with. Maybe he's just a truther or something. No, he's out for number one, and he's out for number one for getting whatever he can for Russia. And he doesn't, he's got a lot of what he's a powerful guy, man. He's not somebody that's a civil servant that's drawing some little tiny salary, and you don't have. If you believe that stuff, man, you might as well just turn this off right now and go back to whatever the hell you're looking. Forget about it, man. But I'm saying is a lot of the smaller, some of those smaller alternative people, whatever, they believe that stuff. They believe this guy's like, and I'm telling you, anybody that, I don't know, the people I associate with that are more learned and I just when I get on this online with some of this stuff, some of these people come back with some of these comments, it's like ridiculous. But so the people I associate with absolutely know what's going on with Putin, man. Medvedev, and there's been big business dealings involved with family of, I actually alluded to some of this stuff on some of my videos, and it just blew right over people's heads. And actually anybody with had brains that really knows what's going on, they would understand that I know stuff. I know some stuff. I don't know everything, but I know some stuff. But the concentration of wealth in Russia is so more skewed than in the United States, and nobody's going to get in that class, man. It's like, forget about it. And if there's a lot of corruption going on in the government, and some businesses trying to do well as an independent entrepreneur, and they want to buy it out cheap, man, that's what happens. They get it cheap. They force the arm. They've been doing this stuff. These guys don't play games, man. You talk about what happened like with Boris in the UK. If you want to believe that's a suicide too, fine. That was no, I don't think it was. There's been a number of attempts on his life, and there's a lot you could talk about as far as corruption in Russia. There's a hell of a lot more you could talk about than you could even talk about in Wall Street. So, to just go on Russia Today and say, the West is all screwed up. It's all the banksters, and it's implying that everything's just great over there in Russia, and it's not. It's actually worse. But like I said, this is the game, I think, of the elitist game is for you to reject the system. It's because they're going to replace it with something else. Anatoly Golitsyn, ex-KGB Major Anatoliy Golitsyn, who has been basically right over 99% of the time, practically, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, some people say it's 96% or whatever. He says that the game plan is for Western financial system to collapse, and that it will be replaced by a type of hybrid capitalist communist system with a human face, where the elite have even tighter control. So, when they're calling for all these change, you better watch what the hell they're calling for. It's almost like, they're telling you the system's the problem. The system's not the problem. It's actually more, and the problem is more in with the lethargic 99%, and even the 1%, yes, are egotistical and screwed up, but the lethargic 99% could fix the situation pretty fast if they just use the tools at their disposal. They have it. They have it. It's actually, I was one of the very few people that voted for a third party, Gary Johnson. Let's talk about, let's get rid of these guys, and I did this, and I try to actually get people out of office, at least with my vote, and it's like nobody would do it. Nobody breaks out of the mold, one party or the other. They're afraid to do it. And A lot of people are afraid to do a lot of things, actually. But you got the tools, and you know, the thing is, I even picked this up with Alex Jones. Like, in other words, you know, for instance, instead of you doing a money bomb for his show, if you got together like money to petition for something, not a change of government, but basically to have something changed, you would see something, you know, some action that was solid, that could actually influence something. There's nothing. That type of action doesn't really happen. It's always like, let's keep the drama going, let's keep the fear going. And also, I want to point out, you know, even a lot of, I'm not going to mention any specific pastors on this, but just pastors in general, you know, they got their tax exemption, and you know, if they were really pissing off the elite, the IRS would revoke that 501c3 stuff and say you guys are basically a political organization, and that would be, you know, that would change that stuff in a heartbeat flat. You know, it would do it right away. But no, that doesn't happen. So what is that telling you about that too? My point is, use some common sense and don't get like where it's hopeless, and actually take action against things in small ways. The cumulative effect of people actually taking action using our system to fight corruption and injustice and that type of stuff, it will work very fast. The problem is, we got a lot of people that are very, very lethargic, and when they start waking up, they want a fast answer, and the fast answer is throw out the system and put a new system in. No. And that's where I see the basic theme of the alternative media is. It's bullshit, man. I don't trust it. I'm like the alternative media. I'm just putting common sense out. You know, I'll tell you right now, I'd rather do more videos on the cars and health and fixing whatever practical things that teach people stuff than do a lot more of these videos. But the more I see of this fake alternative media, false opposition out there, the more I feel compelled to do another video about something, because I think I'm a little more closer in the ballpark as far as what the real problems are. It's not the system. We've always had corruption in the United States. You know why? Because it's human nature. If the just people don't take action and they sit on their ass, well, the corruption continues. But we do have the tools in our system to remedy it. And in Russia, they largely do not have the tools in their system to remedy the situation. They don't. So I don't know why people are kissing their ass and going on their show and telling you know, basically implying that everything's just rosy in Russia and everything's bad in the West. That's not correct. That's not correct at all. You know, sometimes people think that are not as bright as some of the smarter people in but the smarter people in the alternative media know damn well what the situation is in Russia. So I don't know what their game is. I don't like it, to tell you the truth. So just use some common sense on this stuff all the way. I mean, but like I said, I'm gonna probably continue. I'd rather do some more of the how-to type videos than some of these type of videos. But you know, I don't know. Whatever people, I feel it's more useful to people. But you know, if people don't see the actual overall forest and the overall game plan of what the freaking real Illuminati is doing, they want you to reject the Western system so they can replace it with a hybrid capitalist communist system with a human face that's going to have even more controls over your ass than it is now. And so if you think the situation is bad now, it's going to get a lot worse if you allow them to freaking hoodwink you. So there's my point to sum it up.